Good afternoon and welcome to AQS Guild Buzz with Bonnie. We're here again today to share with you some of the things that guilds all across the U.S. are doing. Today our guest is Mary Loker, and she's from the Ozark Piecemakers Quilt Guild out of Springfield, Missouri. Now one thing, we already know some of the quilters in Springfield, Mary, because your guild is going to be working with us when we do our new show in Branson, Missouri next year.
Yes, we're really looking forward to that.
Yes.
Very excited about that opportunity.
And a lot of other people are too. We've had a lot of interest both from vendors and sponsors and the quilters and the bus companies that want to bring tours to Branson. So we certainly are looking forward to it, and we're already working on that show.
Well, I know working on a show takes a lot of time.
Well, it takes us about 18 months start to finish to work on one AQS show. And when we do 6 in a year, that means we're working nonstop for a year and a half on quilt.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And I want to tell you that today's show is sponsored by Janome America, and they will be giving away a free sewing machine, and it's called a Janome HD9 professional machine. And this machine is worth $2,300, and in a little bit I'll tell you how to go sign up for that. And so we're going to start off by having Mary tell us a little bit about your guild, the Ozark Piecemakers Quilt Guild, like how many members you have, when you were formed.
When the guild was formed, it was 1981, and there were just a few women who were interested in doing quilting together. It was very traditional. Hand quilting and hand piecing was the only way to do it. And we have now grown to close to 300 members. Our fiscal year just ended yesterday, so we're starting over again with membership, and we're getting renewals through mail because of the virus. And we've had quite a few renewals.
I know there's something that your guild does that's a little bit different from what most guilds do. And most guilds meet in a church or in some big public building that they can get enough room to hold their guild meetings. But you do something different. Tell us about your building.
Yes, we lease space and we have the use of the building 24/7. I think in looking over the history of the guild, it's very apparent that that's had a great impact in terms of growing. We have lots of small groups. They're not really small anymore, but we have about 10 special interest groups in addition to our several different community outreach groups. And that's all possible because of the space we have that's totally dedicated to our guild.
So you schedule then different things in the building so that the small groups can meet there, and then your big general meeting can meet there as well.
Yes, we have our general meeting on the 4th Tuesday, and then we have small groups meeting throughout the week.
Well, I know that that's always a problem for guilds, especially as you grow larger. I know I was a member of the Ozark Piecemakers for a short time when we lived in Nixa, Missouri, and we met at the convention center where we just rented it on the days that we were going to have our meetings, and we rented it for all day. So I'm sure this is much handier for everyone.
Yes, it's much handier. The only downside is it's also much more expensive because the lease is similar to what it would be in any business where you're leasing business space. So it does cost the guild a lot, and we have to do a lot of fundraising.
Well, I know too that the guilds do lots of charity work, and your guild is no different than other guilds. Tell us a little bit about the different items that you sew and what you do for the local community.
We have a group that meets to do community outreach kinds of quilts. In 2019, that particular group donated 530 community quilts to various agencies: Ronald McDonald House, Hospice, Ambassadors for Children, Harmony House, which is a residence for families that are in crisis, that are undergoing some abuse. And then underneath that group, we also have a very large response to our baby quilt donations. Those go to the Newborns in Need, which is an agency that probably serves a larger region than any other Newborns in Need group in the country. They have a special place they meet also, and we gave them 355 baby quilts last year. I have a few baby quilts to show, but I would have had a whole ton because they gave away 62 just last week. They are really an active, they have chairmen and they meet about 4 times a year, but then the guild members are contributing throughout the year. We have doll quilts that are given at Christmas time to Crossroads. And last Christmas, they gave 509 quilts to Crossroads, which has Christmas presents, including dolls with their own little quilts to go with them. And last, but certainly not least, is our Quilts of Valor group, or Quilts of Honor group. They're called the Patriotic Peacemakers, as a small group, but they have about 18 to 30 people meet. And then, of course, we have other members who just contribute. They do quarterly presentations, and last year, Quilts of Valor group gave 114 quilts out. They do presentations that are held in this building, and it's usually standing room only because we have so many veterans who come. They give them about 20 to 25 quilts at each presentation. So sometimes we have a veteran who is not able to get out of his, either he's in a nursing home or he can't leave the home, and we have occasionally had our members go to that house and present the quilt to him in his place of residence.
Well, that's great. Can you show us some samples of some of the things you do? And I want you to talk about that quilt behind you too.
Okay, I'll show you some of the charity quilts first. Whoops.
Okay.
This is just a little doll quilt. And this is another doll quilt.
Now I know you have some helpers off to the side there, and I just want to recognize them. It's Joyce Sanders and Diane Davis, our quilt holders, helping Mary today.
Yes. And this is another doll quilt we have. I don't know if you can see it very well. But...
Yes. Oh gosh, any little girl would love that, wouldn't she?
Yeah, and then our baby quilts, I just got these from a friend who put the bindings on for me yesterday, so I'd be sure and have some baby quilts to share.
That's pretty. Nice and colorful.
She is very generous because this particular individual on her own donates full queen or king size, I think they're queen size, to the Tiny Homes Project in Springfield. So she made these baby quilts. And these are made out of her own stash.
Oh, that's pretty. Yes.
She worries about having too much stash left when she's not around.
Do you know what? I don't think none of us will use up every stitch of that fabric that we own, will we?
Right. Then this is a quilt. This is a quilt kit for baby quilts. The 2 quilt chairmen for baby quilts make these kits with the pattern, fabrics pre-cut, and directions. And those who come to those sew-ins, or they take them away with them, they also quilt them as well as piece them. And they're usually a little bit simpler when they're made up into a kit. We have a big stash of fabric, a lot of which is donated to our guild by people who no longer need that. So these are all baby quilts.
Oh yes, wow, gosh, and they're all different colors, aren't they?
And then we've started a squad car quilt. Part of Community Quilts. We had a member who was a member of a police department at one time, and she said a lot of time the patrolmen have children who are in crisis, and they'd like a trunk full of quilts to get to these kids. So we started squad car quilts, and they're pretty simple, as you can see.
Right. Oh, but they'd keep them nice and warm if they wrapped them up, wouldn't they?
Yes, and they're comfort to them. And then we have just general kinds of things we give to hospice and all kinds of organizations that need them. Sometimes we have special quilts that are so beautiful, people ask, they have an auction they'd like to do as a fundraiser for them. So these are just examples of some of our community quilts. I should mention that long armors, we have lots of generous long armors, and they do the long arm service for our community quilts without charge.
And we have a long arm here too.
Yeah, and we do have a long arm that was donated by one of our members.
Right. And so are you in the building that you lease right now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Oh, look, the library too.
We also have a library that recently was totally redone by two people on their library board in Nix, I believe.
Yeah, they're part of the Christian County Library District.
So they knew what to do, and they've cataloged, and everything's online. This is another community quilt.
That's pretty.
And then we have our Quilts of Valor. And these already have a paper label on them on the pillowcase. They come in a pillowcase. They're in a presentation case. Are we going to get this together?
No.
You always pick up the wrong end, don't you?
We do, yeah. But that's one of our Quilts of Valor. And like I said, they always come in a pillowcase. I think that's part of the Quilts of Valor requirement, is that they have pillowcases.
Yes.
My husband received one of those, and it came in a pillowcase with a nice little the certificate in it. Very nice.
We just had a presentation not too long ago. And we'd like to have another one, but given the effects of the pandemic, we don't know when we're going to be able to do that, because it's standing room only a lot of times in here.
Right. Yes, and aren't they making some pretty ones with those panels with the eagles and stuff on them?
The lady said that I talked to that's a part of that group, she said panels are very popular with our veterans. They really like those panel quilts.
And I think, if they have flags and if they have eagles, anybody that's been in the military, those are sacred symbols.
Right. We also have some items. We were going to have these in our shop that's called the Boutique at our show. And they're for sale. So hopefully we will also have some other venues besides the show that we had to cancel. These are mug rugs.
Oh, yes. Oh, how cute.
And they're made with wool, I think.
Yes.
Yep, they're wool coasters.
Uh-huh.
And little baskets that I think there's often things online to give directions. And this is a padded notebook.
Oh, yes, like to put your iPad in.
Or your iPad, yep. But this has the notebook in it. So those were very popular. Some luggage tags.
Get a pocket.
Kitchen towels that says kitchen closed, gone quilting, that were done on an embroidery machine. And if you want to put a gift card in there, you can do that too. And these are little snuggle things for children to fidget with. Youngsters, toddlers that want to have something to fidget with. They're soft on the back.
And so, Mary, have you put any of those items on your website where people could buy
Not yet. That's kind of in the future, I think. Isn't it, Diane?
Yeah.
Okay. Diane's our computer expert. So
Okay.
This is our beautiful show quilt that we were planning to give away after a drawing at our show. And we were going to do that, but it's going to be at a 2022 show.
Okay.
That's our donation quilt. We call it a donation. People make donations for the chance to win.
Okay. All right. Will you have both Joyce and Diane step in there so we can get them in the camera a little bit so everybody can see who they are? Just step back just a little bit. There we go. Let's get all three of you in there so we can say thank you to Diane and Joyce for helping be our people who help hold the quilts and pass them through. That was very good. You did a good job. Thank you. Okay, so we know your guild has been using their sewing machines a lot. And we're going to take this opportunity to hear a word from our sponsor, Janome America.
Be sure to contact your local Janome dealer about the Continental M7 and my complete ruler package today.
All All right, so Mary, let's talk a little bit about what's happening right now as we're going through this coronavirus. Have you done some online meetings of any kind with your guild yet?
We have a leader in our featherweight group, and she's very good with the Zoom app. So she's held a couple of Zoom meetings, but we haven't held any large group meetings yet that way. The building is large enough, we've been able to hold a board meeting with enough social distance or physical distance. But other than that, we're gonna need to be exploring some of those possibilities as the year progresses if we can't get together as a whole group.
Yes, and I think a number of guilds are doing that to where they're having small group meetings that they've been able to do on the Zoom, like your lady with the featherweights. And so I guess we're all learning how to handle this technology, aren't we?
That's right, that's right.
Okay, so are there some other programs that you do that you'd like to tell us about?
Well, I did forget to mention, we have the Harmony House here, and our guild has been a partner with them for years in terms of taking monthly donations for helping to buy supplies and things like that for the women mostly women who are at that facility.
Women and children mostly.
Women and children mostly, right, yeah. So that's one of the things. And then we had a great response from, I think, members, but certainly the community when there was a request for masks. The hospitals were very organized and handed out kits to our local shops. We had 2 local shops who had thousands of masks made by people who came and picked up those kits. And then we also had a shop in Ozark, and she provided elastic because it was so hard to find, and she would buy it in 300-yard spools and hand it out 10 yards at a time because she had to ration it. There was such a demand for elastic. So our shops have been wonderful to do that kind of thing.
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but you know, we all are going to be wearing jewelry that looks like this for a while. This is one of the masks that I made. I've made, I don't know, I guess about 50 now. I made some for our staff here at AQS and family and friends. And so I just want to share just one little tip, and that is I've been using a cord lock. And you know, that you find those sometimes on sweatshirts, but it makes it so that you just grab it and pull it up to tighten it behind your head. And so it's a little bit different. So, you know, this is one of mine. And so you pull and then you slip it over your head and pull the cord lock and you're all set to go. Some of my friends who have to wear one all day long have found that this was a lot more comfortable than using the elastic over your ears, which sometimes, you know, gets a little sore if you have to wear it for a long period of time.
Yes.
Well, okay, so I want to remind everybody to go register for the Janome sewing machine. That's the Janome H9 professional model. We also have a survey on the page, on our Facebook page, that we'd like for you to fill out. And if you watch the program this week and you watch it again next week, you might want to just click on that even if you filled it out, because we'll be changing that survey from time to time. And if you still need something to do, Quilts of Valor is always a good project. We worked with them all this last year, and I know how much the veterans love receiving those quilts. And the other project that AQS has been working on is with American Patchwork and Quilting magazine. They started the Million Pillowcase Challenge. We've been working with them and gathered at our shows. And the good thing about the pillowcase challenge is all of those pillowcases stay in your local community. So if you're making pillowcases, you want to be sure to register those with them so that they can add them. And I don't know, I think they're up to 900, I mean, they're just a few thousand away from reaching their million. I want to say 990,000 or something have been made and given away. So if you'd like to do that, that's another great project. So it goes to somebody in a charity group in your community. Well, I want to thank you, Mary Loker, and Joyce Sanders and Diane Davis for meeting with us today and sharing all of the things about your quilt guild, the Ozark Piecemakers Quilt Guild. And I hope that you will join us here again next week. we will be talking to a guild from Waco, Texas. So with that, I will say thank you again to Janome America for sponsoring this program and to Mary and her crew for visiting with us. We'll see you right here at 3 p.m. next Wednesday. And by all means, wear your mask, wash your hands, and stay well.
Thank you.